A number of years ago, when we began the process of rebranding the city, the consultant that was working with us on that project asked us a very fundamental question. He asked if we were happy being a community people really liked driving through. A beautiful community on Highway 97 that people drove through on their way to Prince George or Alaska, or drove south to the Okanagan or Vancouver. And it's a question that then drove the way that we did our rebranding and the way that we did our official community plan, because we then took on the challenge that we wanted to be more than a beautiful community to drive through. We wanted to be a community people deliberately planned to come to, whether they were coming here to visit, whether they were coming here to live, or to work and invest in our community. And we had to do that exercise because we have been long dependent on our forest sector. In fact, at one time, Quesnel had the highest concentration of manufacturing facilities in the forest sector in the world, in our community. And we still have a lot of milling operations. But the mills were closing down, and the number of jobs that we were getting per cubic meter of timber was shrinking as well because of technology. So we were forced to change the dynamic of our economy, and that caused us to think about the dynamic of our community. And our whole branding exercise and our official community plan started to focus on what are our strengths. And our strengths are in nature. It's the nature that surrounds us, it's the nature that feeds us, it's the nature that actually was the backbone of our economy for the entire history of our community. And importantly, it's the fact that we live on the confluence of three bodies of water: the Quesnel River, the Fraser River, and then Baker Creek. And that confluence of those waterways, we've only really capitalized on with our Riverfront Trail. But we've never marketed a Riverfront Trail. We've not actually gone and looked at that land base and developed that land base as a reason for people to come to our community. So part of the outcome of our rebranding exercise was to begin to capitalize on those strengths. And many of you have heard about our mountain bike trail network that surrounds the community. That's capitalizing on our strengths and has begun to attract people to Quesnel as a fun place to go and play, whether they're trail running or they're mountain biking. Now we want to start really developing those waterfronts. And we've been fortunate in getting a number of grants, and in particular a grant from Northern Development Trust to redevelop the walking bridge and the portion of the trail along the Fraser River, including lighting that portion of the trail. And we just received a grant from the provincial government for their COVID Safe Restart program to develop the RV and campground right on the Quesnel River. Now we want to take a look at one of the set pieces in our waterfront strategy, though, and that is the question of whether or not we can actually develop a water park, a whitewater play area in the Quesnel River, right in the heart of our downtown core, in the area where the RV park is going to be, around the Johnson Bridge area. Council has approved conducting a feasibility study. There are communities that have done this and have seen a major transformation because they've built something that people want to come to. So we're just in the very beginning of that process of looking at whether or not that's another thing we can add. That's another piece of our strengths. It's another way to use that water feature in order to make sure that Quesnel is a place that people want to come to, that we're no longer just a drive-through community. We're a community that people plan on coming to live, to play, to work, and invest.